Okay, so our next factoring technique we're going to use is factoring by grouping. I'm going to try to give you a very specific advice about when to use each of these factoring techniques. So factoring by grouping is when you are trying to factor something that has four terms and there's nothing common. You can't pull a GCF out of the whole thing. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to group the first two terms with parentheses and the last two terms with parentheses. So as I read these instructions, I'm going to start the process on this first example. So let me make this just a little bigger. So first two terms with parentheses, second two terms with parentheses. You'll note, and I said this in the directions, be sure that there is a plus sign between the two groups, okay? So you need to keep this plus sign in between, not this, because this would mean multiply. If there's no addition sign here, then you've changed this problem from an adding to a multiplying, which we do not want to do. So grouping like this, okay? I will address this parentheses in the next example, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're basically going to treat this group separately from this group. So we're going to find a GCF here and pull it out, and then factor a GCF out of the second group as well. So I'm going to look at this 12v cubed plus 16v squared. Let's see, they both can be divided by 4. And then the lowest power of v I have is v squared. So that would be my GCF. And then let's see, I need to multiply 4 by 3 to get to 12, and v squared by v to get to v cubed, plus I need to multiply 4 by 4 to get to 16, and v squared by no v's because I've already factored out the v squared entirely. So there's my first group. Now I'm going to leave that plus sign there and do the same process for the second group. So what's common between 15v and 20? Well, let's see. I could factor out a 5. Whoops. A 5. And then let's see what's left. I cannot factor out a v because I have one v here and no v's there. So the smallest amount of v's that I see is none. So that means my GCF has none. Okay, so then I'm going to multiply 5 by 3v to get 15v and 4 to get 20. Now, if you've done the factoring by grouping correctly, you will notice that the two insides are the same. You now have a common binomial. So remember how we practiced that in the GCF? If this is common, you're going to factor it out front. So I'm going to pull out 3v plus 4. And what I'm left with will be the 4v squared. If this is gone, just this, plus 5. If this is gone, just this. So 4v squared plus 5. And now I have that thing factored. It's kind of clever, huh? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and walk you through number 2 because it does have that negative that I addressed up here. You may need to attach the negative to the third term and add a plus sign. So let me address that because then there's another piece in number 2. If the first term of the second group is negative, factor that negative out with the GCF. So I'm going to show you that by example here in the second. All right, so I have 4 terms. Right? There is no common GCF I can pull out of all 4 of these terms. That is a hint, a big hint that I want to try grouping. So I start by grouping my first 2, but then when I group my second 2, I go, uh-oh, this is a negative. And I can't leave that negative there because now it would be applying to both of these, and that's not true. This negative belongs with this term 3u. So the way I deal with that is that I'm just going to rewrite this as plus negative 3u. It's a little scrunched in there. So if you wanted to rewrite it down here, that might be better just so you can see. So that's what I mean when I say attach the negative to the third term, plus negative 3u. So now I have two groups and there's a plus in between. So I'm going to continue as I did before. I'm going to factor out what's common in my first group. Let's see, I think that would be a 3u squared. What's left would be a 3u plus 7. And now I'm going to come to my second group. I'm going to look for a GCF. In this case, you'll notice I don't have anything that's common. So it is okay to have a 1 as a GCF. And a lot of times I'll just write, plus 1 in front of theirs, just to kind of remind me that that's what's in front. But you'll remember in my second step here, I said, if the first term of the second group is negative, factor out the negative with the GCF. That's how we get the inside terms to line up. So I'm not going to just say plus 1, I'm going to say minus 1. So that now I have factored out a negative, which would change all the signs inside. That's what makes these two things line up. So it's just a little bit of negative maintenance. You've got to attach it to the third one and then pull it out in the groupings, in the GCF step. Now I can pull out my 3u plus 7 because it's common, and I'm left with 3u squared minus 1. And we've got it factored. Okay, so it's your turn. Give number 3 a try. Go ahead and pause. Give it a try. All right, how did it go? So I did have that negative on the third term again. So I changed that to plus negative 5s. Pulled out what was common in the first group. Pulled out the negative 5, since my GCF here would have been 5, but that third term is negative. Pulled out the negative 5, which changes them both to positive s and positive p inside. These lined up. And so I could factor out the s plus p. One thing I also just wanted to show you, it is an option if you wanted to change the order of the terms, right? So another thing you could have done, and it doesn't work in every one if there's too many negative terms, is let's say I just swap the order here. So I made this minus 5s here, and then plus 4pm there, and minus 5p here. Then I don't have that third term being negative, and when I factor out the common things, oops, too many p's, not enough m's. You'll notice I still have a common binomial, and when I pull that out, I end up with exactly the same two factors that I started with, or that I got after I did it this way. It doesn't matter if they're written in a different order, right? Isn't 2 times 3 the same as 3 times 2? So the order of the factors doesn't matter. It's just what each individual factor is. So that's another option that you could use if you are dealing with the third term being negative. Sometimes if 3 terms are negative, you can't get away from it. And which is why I always wanted to make sure that I showed you how to deal with it if it is a negative.